War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. If it's orange and blue, it's what we do. Always heavy on the sports here on this channel, but we appreciate you stopping in, hanging out with us for a little bit, even if you're watching this on the replay. But this is a live show. And being such, it's always great to interact with you and to hang out with you, just talk to you not in person, but as in person as we can get over a live stream on YouTube. Today's main discussion point, Big Cat Weekend, is technically over with. I mean, it is Sunday evening. Weekend technically has a few more hours in it. So who knows? There might be breaking news in the middle of this, as it tends to happen when we go live. But a lot of you requested back on our Wednesday night live show that we do something for Big Cat Weekend. Told you I might try to do that. Well, here I am fulfilling that request. So hope you're here. Hope you're excited to talk about some recruiting news that is obviously just broken today, but maybe we'll speculate on some things. I've got a list of people that supposedly showed up, and I want to know what you think about it as well. Before we do all that, though, do me a little bit of a favor. A lot of you are already doing the chat window. Let me know that you're here. Send me a War Eagle and post where you are watching from. The regulars know this. It's our normal routine, our check-in. I see a lot of people are already checking in for me as we go on. And other things that you can do, smash that like button if you enjoy this type of content. And as we go along, check out some of the links in the description for ways that you can help support this content. There's one up at the very top of the chat window right now if you want to check that out. So that's the main gist of what I have for pre-show for you. I am going to do something probably a little bit unique. Typically on Wednesday nights, our live shows at 8 o'clock on Wednesdays is strictly anything and everything Auburn. Like, we'll just bounce around everything, and we can do that here as well. But I might let you guys have the option to call in if anybody wants it. So please do let me know if you think that you want to call in, and I might put it up there for you. But just kind of one of those little options I'll put out there. Let's see. We got Casey checking in from Birmingham. Russell, good to see you, Russell. Daphne, Alabama, with Kevin Nelson. Kevin is a brand new member of the Booster Club. You can sign up to for as little as $1 a month. Patreon.com/E2C Network. Thank you, Kevin, for your support. Always very much appreciated on that, my friend. And we'll have a little announcement about Kevin soon. He knows what I'm talking about, but I won't announce it just yet. We'll save that teaser. People in the Booster Club will know what the little thing is. Let's see. WD, new site, Alabama. New site, Alabama. Am I missing something here? He said, Kevin also says, glad to add another running back to the fold. Yes, we're going to be talking about that, I'm sure. What happened to 7 o'clock? I don't think I ever said 7. I think I said 8. Fuzzy looking. No, I messed with the lighting a little bit, Russell. The lighting's not great. I'm using my Apple. Well, it could be connection too. I mean, it is kind of like a little overcast out there, but we're not getting rained on as of yet. Jackson's Gap checking in. John Stokes, also a Booster Club member. Thank you so much. All kinds of good stuff here. From Moody, lots of people checking in. All right. I think I've said a hi to most of you already. But get your comments and questions calling in, and let me know if you do want to call in. I will post the link, because you'll need a special link to do so. And we'll see if you've got anything to add and share that you want to talk about. Obviously, the big news out of Big Cat Weekend, and actually, let me start with this. For those of you that don't know a Big Cat Weekend, it was something that was started under Coach Gene Chizik, I believe, in 2009. And it was a way to almost, for lack of a better term, kick off recruiting for the 2020 or whatever cycle, because this was 2009, for the next cycle and beyond that. It was kind of a way to kind of drive a little bit of interest and energy into a time period for recruiting, especially Auburn recruiting, that usually is very slow right before the season starts. And it almost kind of gets the intention, my understanding, was to get kids in a position where they might want to recruit a little early, commit a little bit earlier than they might have originally been excited to. Because if you see, the thing is, you get all these kids together, and especially if you see some of these bigger names that might show up, decide to commit on a whim, that makes you question, what am I missing? Or even if you're a big commit, just watching all these other guys, there may be a little bit in terms of rankings, which don't matter in the end of it, a little bit lower than you doing all this. Like, what am I missing? Why are they committing? Should I just go ahead and commit and kind of get on board with the train that is? I just realized my shirt's a little wonky here too. So let me fix that. This shirt doesn't fit me all that well. So I realized I had like shoulder pads going on there. But that is the gist behind that weekend, Big Cat weekend. And it's continued through Gene Chiswick's tenure, through Coach Malzahn's tenure because of COVID-19. They couldn't do it last year. This is the first year it's back. Great time to restart it back up under a new regime. So a lot of big things happening. 4-star commit, if I spelled that last name right. No, it's Alston. Will be a 5-star after his senior season. He's better than Henderson, Alabama running back commit. Okay, I got you. In Petratus, I got you. So yeah, the big news coming out of this weekend is that Damari Alston of College Park, Georgia, which is not too far from where I am actually, and it's not super far from Auburn either, decided to commit to the Auburn Tigers. And I think a lot of people were anticipating this. Some people over the weekend were even making crystal ball predictions on their sites that this was going to happen. So it wasn't like the biggest shock in the world. I think that's what everybody was kind of waiting on to happen. I think the bigger question is, was anybody else going to commit on top of that? And we haven't seen anybody as of yet. Doesn't mean it can't change. I've heard the Lakers are interested in Sharif. If he goes there, he could influence Bronny James to come to Auburn. I mean, there's always wishful thinking, but we'll see. Justin, good to see you, my man. Douglas, Alabama, checking in. He says, War Eagles. You like the shirt? Much more faded than yours. Yes, the sleeves on the championship shirts are questionable. Yeah, this is actually straight from the locker room. I'm going to be honest with you. I had a friend who basically has a family connection directly with the staff and all that kind of stuff. And he told me he was going to try his hardest to get something for me from the championship game. And I didn't think he was going to be able to pull, but this came out of the box that the players grabbed. So that's like my cool thing. And I very rarely wear this, only really for this, because I don't want to mess it up too much and become faded like Russell's. But thank you. I'm glad you appreciate the shirt. Did anybody think that Damari was not going to commit this week? Basically, in my opinion, the way things had been leading up to it, it was pretty much a done deal at this point. I really think that that was the one commit they were kind of counting on. I think they were really hoping for more to hop on or do a little bit more. Lee says, building a solid offensive class with a quarterback, a wide receiver, a running back. Just got to start adding some trench commits. And that's going to be the ticket, Lee. And I think, I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say if we had gotten maybe 2 offensive line commits from Big Cat weekend and even not the running back commit, this would have been an outstanding weekend, because everybody, I think, is finally starting to kind of catch on to Auburn's real problem. It's the trenches, and really the offensive line trenches. And we really need to, for perception purposes, see what we can do to get some of these offensive linemen to go ahead and jump on board, because it really is one of those positions, I think, that kind of snowballs effects. But I think the same thing that you are pointing out here, Lee. You've got a quarterback, you've got a wide receiver, you've got a running back. Offensive lines are going to start taking a look at that as like, oh, do I want to block for that guy? Do I want to block for that quarterback, that running back, or even, set the wide receivers up for success? So there's potential that could fold over and help us in offensive line recruiting. I know that's the thing that everybody is really wanting to see, and probably what they were hoping for this year. Casey says, I and another quarterback commit in this class. So you think that there's going to be a second one? If so, who do you think it is? Let's see. You thought him and a few more, meaning Damari. Yeah, I think I've got to need to pull up my list here that I had compiled of all the names, and I've got them right here. And we don't have to walk through every one of these here, but especially for 2022, let me just kind of point out some of the offensive lines. You've got 4-star offensive lineman / defensive lineman Antavius Woody from Lafayette. You've got Inez Cooper. I'm trying to get all these names right. I will butcher him. He's an offensive tackle / guard, 3-star out of Pleasant Grove, Alabama. And then you've got offensive guard Claiborne Pollard from Oak Grove, Mississippi. We haven't seen us really go into Mississippi a lot and do a lot of good things. That would be interesting to see. So those are the big things there. I think, obviously most people were kind of wondering whether Damari was even going to show up. I think he was listed as a maybe on a lot of the people's list. The fact that he showed up shows that the hype of this weekend worked in getting him there. That's the whole purpose of this weekend, is to get a large enough amount and a collective amount enough to get there to entice others to show up. And those that maybe is like, well, let me go see what's going on, meet some of the players. And if you get them there meeting with the coaches, you never know what can happen. You might end up with a 4-star recruit. I know they're coming, but we have to get some offensive line commits. I have a feeling we're going to have to depend on the portal for a season or two to get our offensive line roster balanced out. I would prefer not to do that, Russell. It may be a foregone conclusion at this point, but it is a possibility. The reason I would prefer not to do that, because, and I think a lot of you, I repeat myself a lot here on these live streams, that I view it as a Band-Aid that can be easily ripped off and conceal a not healed wound. So I'm much of a really long-term person. So I would rather us go ahead and get the commits now that we need. I would much rather us start go after, and we're doing this, go out to the Midwest, go out to the further West, and it's non-traditional pipelines that haven't been really tapped by Auburn in a while for some of these offensive linemen recruits. That's what I'd really like to see us start doing. I think you're onto something with the O-line being a snowball effect. O-line want to play with other good offensive line because it's good line. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. I think it's all a snowball effect. I think you started the conversation with a great point that you see a quarterback, a wide receiver, a running back lineup, and solid ones at that. And then others start really considering, and it can even snowball, maybe not as much, but eventually over to the defense as well. But offensive lineman is one of those units where it really starts kind of making people take a second look and really thinking about you. If you think back, this is back in the days when I was like full board into recruiting. I couldn't stop refreshing my phone or my computer on message boards. I'm trying to remember his name. Cyrus Kwanjo. A lot of people forget that he committed to Auburn on National Signing Day on national television. And as soon as they got the cameras off him, his parents got to him and changed his mind. Well, I don't know that they changed his mind. I know that something changed his mind. That's my interpretation from what I'm being told. But, you can take that for what it's worth. But this is Cyrus Kwanjo, really the entire recruiting cycle wasn't really considering Auburn. It was all Alabama. And he saw what else was happening with all those other linemen that were coming. He's like, I got to be a part of that. So it could really affect him that way. I agree with Kowalski. What's going on, man? O-line needs to come from the high schools. I think you can get 1 or 2 from transfers. I would much prefer that we focus on getting them in there from the high school realm. Where did I left? Trying to see where I let off. Appreciate you reminding everybody, hit that thumbs up. I really do appreciate that. It does help it does help it out a little bit there. A couple of those 4-stars were supposed to be at a big FSU event this weekend, but chose to come to Auburn. So that's a plus. And that tells you something, right? Auburn, it's not a shock to say right now that it's kind of in a valley. It's what happens when you go through a full transition, a complete clean slate. You kind of have to start out at ground zero, but it shows you the trajectory that these recruits are seeing and the opportunities they're seeing arise. That the fact that they're going to forego one event and come to another. Now, let's not kid ourselves. Who wants to go to Florida right now? Would you? Florida State is one of those programs that has seen the highest of heights, and it's just down here now. It's quite sad. But but still big thing that they chose us. Casey says, Bo Green, 6'2", 210 from Turlock. What a name, California. His second best offer is Middle Tennessee State. This is your quarterback option. Or Caleb Nix, Bo's younger brother. Now, listen, as much as people lament about Bo Nix now, do we really want to go through that again? I will take Caleb Nix in a heartbeat, especially if he's really good. But people complain and whine about daddy privilege and all that kind of stuff. Other stupid arguments that we're not even going to address here. I think it's probably best. And another thing for Caleb Nix, do you really, well, I mean, some players do want to do, they want to follow their parents or their siblings and kind of, try to one up them and all that stuff. It's such a close proximity. I'd kind of want to go somewhere else and do my own thing if I was him. Justin, how's your day today? Oh, not too bad, my friend. I appreciate you asking. Just enjoyed kind of catching up on what's been going on this weekend. Auburn's going to shock a lot of people this year, starting with Penn State. That's a common theme that I am hearing, Kowalski, that a lot of people are really gearing up for that. I attribute that to mainly that there was a lot of hype around this game before some things started to become a reality. When it became evident that the season was going to happen, that started building. When it became evident that it was going to be full stadiums, all that stuff, that started building. When it became evident that it was going to be the primetime game for that week, started building even more. And when it became evident that it was a whiteout game, now that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Speaking of which, a little quick plug. Most of you know that we do live streams, but also edited videos here, along with putting our podcast episodes up here. A lot of content coming out this week. Got three podcast episodes, but I'm also almost done with another video. Most of you will have watched the best home games for 2021, a ranking for them. That video has already been out. I'm doing the away games now. That will be Tuesday. Hopefully you'll check that one out. And there's something related to Penn State on that you might want to check out. Kevin is talking about Cyrus Kwanjo. Yes, they refused to fax his letter. Listen, he's filed. He's their responsibility. And if they felt like that was what they were supposed to do, it's kind of hard to argue from that stance, but it just doesn't feel right, does it? With all this O-line talk, any predictions for game 1? I don't know a lot about Akron. I know that the energy level is going to be intense. I think there's going to be a lot of jitters on the Auburn side too, because of how this is the first time they've been in a full stadium. So you can imagine how that's going to affect the offensive line, if that's what you're asking. I would bet it's going to look a little sloppy, but still really Auburn winning. Starters wise is what you're asking. Let me pull up the depth chart. Bear with me just a second, because I need to look at this if you really want me to kind of give you a thorough thought process of this. And I'm not honestly up to date on who is still coming back from injury. I think Nick Brahms, Tayshawn Manning, Austin Troxell, Brodarius Ham. I think those four, there's something, and I don't know why the Keandre Jones name keeps sticking out to me. He might get a little bit of a look personally. But, there's a lot of other options. There might be a little bit of mixing and matching going on. Killian Zaire was or was he an offensive tackle? I can't remember. Anyway, there's a lot of names that could happen. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I remembered your transfer opinion, but O-line needs experience. Harsin values roster balance, mix of younger, older, need to go after the high school, but mix with talent. A mix is a good thing. Like most things, moderation is probably a good, I would say a moderation in how many transfers you're taking is a good thing too. All right. I'm getting a little behind, so I'll try to keep up here. Imani, Auburn won the national championship. Alabama will be overrated. I hope and welcome Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC. Live stream done. I would bet that we are not winning the national championship. Can Auburn overachieve? That's typically what we do. We also underachieve as well, but this doesn't feel like that year. Alabama, I don't know that they'll be overrated, but I bet that they would lose more than we think. And I would also welcome Texas and Oklahoma. Normally, I wouldn't say that, but this year I've kind of really opened up to that. 70 on Akron. Ooh, my goodness. I'm talking about who do you think walks out there and starts. I think we addressed that. Sorry, just still catching up here. And Kowalski has a very popular opinion for me. Bo Nix will have the Jason Campbell effect. I completely agree. Think that's going to be very much the story there. That he's going to have. All right, now, we'll jump back on different topics and stuff, but I do kind of want to, drift back and forth to recruiting and stuff like that, since that was the main setup here. A lot of people maybe not aware that Holder Grenier, our 4-star quarterback commit, was here, and I'm sure he is being, at least offensively, being the best recruiter there. 4-star cornerback athlete Marquez Dortch. I'm sorry, it's a funny name. From Mississippi, an Ole Miss commit. I would have been very excited about that one. Don't know anything really about the guy, but the fact that you can steal people, it's kind of like the Florida State effect. Again, grant you that Florida State is not in the greatest of situations right now, but if you can steal them from their event, that says something. If Auburn is convincing other people to come from other, not just power schools, but conference/divisional schools, that's a really good sign. Caden Story, 4-star defensive end from Lynette, hometown guy or close to hometown guy. That would be a big one. 4-star wide receiver Omari Kelly was here. Hewitt Trustful, defensive lineman Curtis Perry from Montgomery Park Crossing. That's actually very close to my old stopping grounds. And then we already addressed the offensive lineman, 4-star Antavius Woody of Lafayette, Alabama. I want to remind you guys that stars do not matter after the recruiting rankings. They don't. They don't score any points on the field. In fact, and this is a little bit of a unfair thing because there's more 3-stars than there are 4 and 5-stars, but proportionally, you see more 3-stars becoming, having bigger careers than anything else. You think that Bo will have a Joe Burrow year? Not quite, but he could have a very good year. All right, I said I might do it. I'm just going to go ahead and do it in case anybody wants to take advantage of. Right now, I'm posting in the chat window call-in number. A link. All you have to do is click it. You will come on live. You don't have to be on camera. You can just have your voice option there if you want to do just that. Love to hear and take any of your calls. We don't typically do this except on our Wednesday night shows. I thought, hey, what the heck? Special live stream. If anybody wants to take advantage of it, that's there. I'll post it one more time, probably later. But it's there if you'd like to call in. So anybody else that you were hoping that was going to commit this weekend that you thought we might get some, leverage with, that there might be a snowball effect? Is there anybody else that stuck out? Our other commits that were here, 3-star wide receiver Jay Fair. I'm getting very high on that guy after watching some of his highlights. From Texas, another big one there because he is from Gus Malzahn did a good job of going to the Texas pipeline, but to see that we're going to continue that, it's a good thing for me. 3-star linebacker Powell Gordon from Auburn commit. And so there's that as well. You also had 3-star cornerback from Kentucky. He's a Kentucky commit from North Cobb, Andre Stewart from up in my neck of the woods, currently near Kennesaw, Georgia. Caleb Wooden, a safety from Lawrenceville, Georgia, an Auburn commit right now. So what sticks out to me mostly from this 2022 representation is the amount of Mississippi people that came to this event. I think personally that's a great thing. You see Auburn, their pipeline is obviously Alabama, Georgia, really Florida as well, and it used to be Arkansas for a time there. I would really like to see us starting to take advantage of Mississippi more. It's hard to do because it's so much closer to Tuscaloosa. But I really, really think that that's a good thing for us if we can start doing that and start kind of creating a wider base than just Alabama, Florida, Georgia. Those are good pipelines. Lots of recruits to pick from in Georgia and Florida. But there are other ones out there, diamonds in the rough. We were the masters of pulling gems out of Arkansas, at least on paper. Who says we still couldn't do it? Let's see. The two 5-star Thompson High 23 prospects not showing up after committing to coming today somewhat rubs me the wrong way. Yeah, but they have their reasons. I understand it kind of rubbing you the wrong way, but they're 17-year-old kids. They kind of change their minds on the flip of a dime. What have I heard about Darius Clemens? Not really anything solid. So I'm not going to really comment on that. But if you have heard differently, please let me know. Story and Albert are committing on August 4th. Yeah, I saw that those were scheduled for later, but it's the snowball effect, right? You kind of had hoped that you would see something else happen, and then they would kind of say, oh, let's go ahead and pull this trigger. But a lot of these kids do want to have their moment on either radio, national television, or just social media coverage, journalism coverage of their commitment. So, yeah, that's a understandable thing for them to want. My voice is getting a little tired. I've been doing a lot of talking today. Besides this, there's a lot of content coming out this week. Both are predicted to go to Auburn. So this could be, we had a great week 2-3 weekends ago, I think it was. We did a live stream for that where we got a wide receiver, tight end, is it a cornerback or safety or something like that? And I think one more, all in one swoop. This could be a situation where it's another great week after that. You use this. We talked a lot about snowballs tonight. The snowball effect is real. We would have to move to the ACC for national championships. I think the ACC is going to become less and less relevant. Louisiana, yes, is a great pipeline as well. I don't know why Louisiana and Texas to me kind of flow together because they're so close, and I can't really separate the two in my mind. I guess it's because Texas is so big and their recruit base is so not vast is what I meant. Anyway, that's what it kind of feels. Jay Fair absolutely looks legit. I think he's a diamond in the rough. That's the feel that I get from Jay Fair too, which is why I'm kind of high on him. But on that note, just talking about what people look like in highlights and stuff like that. Have y'all watched some of the highlights of Damari, the running back that just committed today? Somebody in the chat window, and I think it's Russell, gave me finally, I was thinking all day, who does this guy remind me of? What former Auburn running back or just running back in general does he remind me of? We finally figured it out. Does anybody else in the chat, can you think of it? It's a perfect analogy. And I'm sad that I didn't think of it. It took Russell, I think, is who posted about it earlier. Andre Stewart was committed to us at one time. It's the way of the 17-year-old. Bouncing back and forth on a dime. Excuse me. You don't think Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State, Clemson will move the SEC with Oklahoma, Texas? No. That's your hyperbole working there, Casey. Not going to happen. Trey Mason, size-wise, yes. Maybe a little bit taller than Trey, I think. Not the player. Keep guessing, though. Keep guessing. You're thinking the right era, vicinity, maybe. You're not too far off from that type of player. Russell, if it was you can give it away if you'd like. But when he finally posted this, because I put up the little the E2C Shorts video that you can, get on the little Shorts part of the YouTube app and stuff like that. I kept watching it over and over. I was like, who is this guy? It's a certain Auburn running back. And it finally clicked when he said it. And it's not one that, a lot of people, I think people have forgotten about over time. You don't think anybody will guess it, Russell? Well, then we'll go ahead and tell them. And Javon Robinson. Does anybody else see it? Russell's 100% right. It's Javon. Javon, if I remember him correctly, was almost like Kerryon Johnson light. Now, Kerryon I would call more of a shifty back, more than a downhill runner. Javon was a downhill runner. I think I'm going to credit my boy Vernon Speaks Sports. I was watching his video earlier, and he describes him as his head is always upfield. and he tries to maneuver his body after the hit to continue to go upfield. It's amazing what happens when you keep your eyes focused on the prize, right? I love shifty backs as much as anybody because I love juking and jiving and all that kind of stuff. But there's something to be said about just a straight focus on downhill. Yeah, that means you're going to get a little bit more collisions. You're going to get beat up a little bit more. But it works. It does. But yes, Javon Robinson is who it was, and I agree 100%. Matthew, what's going on? Now, Matthew is from my other YouTube channel that I do, but he pops in from time to time. And I believe Matthew's an Alabama fan. So if that's true, Matthew, remind me. And got a rogue fan in here with us, but that's fine. You're welcome here. We might just give you a little bit of crap. Oh, James, that's a great one. Camera. What do you think about that one, Russell? Cameron Artis Payne. I like that one. He's a little bit taller, I think, than Cam. But Cameron Artis Payne, that's not a bad one either. I think everybody's starting to see the Javon Robinson comparisons too. Don't y'all just hate that Javon didn't last here? Again, there were some circumstances, we'll put it that way, that kept him from being here. But very, very good. Javon was downhill, sheds everybody, exceptional, breaking tackles and tough. The year was booted right before this. Javon was going to have a phenomenal year. Alabama really wanted him. He was definitely one of those running backs that got overlooked by a lot of the big programs in lieu of others, which I'm sure worked out for most of them. But Javon, by the time year 2 was coming around, was being expected to be the guy, one of the guys in the SEC. Reminds you of Tank. Tank is so here's the thing about Tank. He has every skill set. He does. I mean, he's a freaking bulldozer. He is a tank. But the guy can juke and shift and spin as well as Ontario McCaleb or Trey Mason was more of a power back too. Kerryon Johnson could. He is one of the most well-rounded big backs that I've ever seen. Can see a little bit of cap in him as well. Kind of shorter, even kind of shorter, thicker Tank. So Tank's just, I hate to say this, and since we have an Alabama fan here, I will say it. He reminds me a little bit of Derrick Henry. I think that's a fair comparison. Whereas Derrick was more top heavy, Tank's a little bit he's just heavy in a good way across everything. Arms, legs, torso, head. Just a tank. So let me ask the room here, since we've been talking about recruiting and we're talking about running backs. Damari, new recruit for the Auburn Tigers. How quickly do you see him seeing significant playing time? Let's talk through that while you're thinking about that answer there for a second. Tank's the starting running back. Sean Shivers is going to be his 1.5 or running back 1.5, meaning like not the starter, but he's going to see significant time too. Jarquez is going to see probably a decent amount of time too. And I forget who we have after that, but there is a world where we could see, and I'm sorry, this is for the next year. So forgive me. I realized what I was just saying, but anyway, I don't know that you'll see him have significant time other than the potential 5 games that they're eligible for before losing their red shirt. But maybe the next year after Tank goes, maybe he's pushing for the starting job. You never know, right? Tank reminded you of Lattimore from South Carolina. Quick question related off of that. Quick poll of the room. Would you have preferred Lattimore or Dyer? Forget the way Dyer ended. Let's forget the injuries for Lattimore, because that kind of eliminates the two of them together from deficiencies they had. Which one would you have preferred? Matthew, by the way, I don't like Oklahoma moving into our conference. I mean, they aren't anywhere near the Southeast. Also being Alabama, I just can't stand Oklahoma. I bet you can't, because there's another team that stands a chance of beating you. Listen, I hear you on that. I think the benefits whether you see them as benefits or not even you specifically, but just people see as benefits or not, the benefits outweigh the negatives in this one. I think it needs to happen, and I think it's probably going to happen. This is a big surprise. This was going to happen. Lattimore over Dyer. Not bad. Any reason why? What about Ben Tate? Ben Tate was a good one. Yes, that's a good analogy. Even though Dyer's essentially won the Natty. Lattimore. Yeah. Monty says, I see him playing significant time as a freshman, the same way Georgia used their running backs. And you could probably see that, right? So Sean's a senior, I believe. So that means Tank can't leave until the next season, if I have my numbers right. So there could be a world where there's Tank, Jarquez, and now our new commit. There's a world where he could see significant playing time, potentially. Kowalski, we'll bounce around to this for a second. So what's this I've been hearing about Allen Green not being here long? I will tell you, and I've addressed this previously, I have been getting more than just rumors about this for over a year now. I don't think the Auburn-Allen Green relationship is long for this world. And I don't mean that necessarily as a bad, I guess there's no really way to spin it other than, a bad way. But like, I don't know that Allen Green necessarily saw himself here long-term. Just an opinion. An opinion based on some things I've heard from others. He's a very driven guy, a very up-and-comer. I think he wants to be somewhere different eventually. And I don't blame him. Auburn's very much a place where when you come, it's got to be you want to be here. What I always appreciate about Allen Green is he came in and learned the Auburn family way and learned to assimilate into the Auburn family and really took that to heart and didn't make a lot of changes to start off. But it never felt like he to me, it never has felt like he kind of wholesale went into it. Whereas Bryan Harsin, to his credit, he seems to get it. And I'm speaking in nebulous terms here, and I could be 100% wrong. It could be the opposite way, just a feeling that I get about it. But I do think that where there's smoke, there's fire. That relationship is not long for this world, I don't think. Reporters asked Looper who was the best running back on campus since Carnell. I think it was, Looper said Marcus Lattimore, spoke volumes because Dyer was on campus when he made that statement. Yeah, that was the sweepstakes of running backs. I remember talking with my dad about that. People forget about Lake Seastrunk from Oregon, or going to Oregon. He was from Louisiana or Texas, I believe. Lattimore, Dyer, and there were a few others as well. That was the year of the running back. And Auburn was a contention for all of them. People forget that. And there was an opportunity and a chance where Dyer and Lattimore were coming. But pretty much when Dyer committed, kind of put the nail in the coffins for the other. Kowalski, so who would replace him? That's a great topic for another day. I will tell you this. There is a former Auburn athlete, but he's much more than an athlete. And I don't mean that nobody else isn't much more than an athlete, but his resume is so impressive outside of sports that he is a person that very good with students, wants to invest in students, very good with business sense. Everything that you would want in an AD checks off a lot of boxes. In fact, I actually want him for the next president, but I don't know that that's going to happen. I don't know that he wants either of those positions, but we'll talk about that another time. A little tease for you to keep coming back. Got to give you something, a little carrot to reach out for. Wanted both Lattimore and Dyer. Don't forget they both committed to Auburn at one point. That is true. That is true, but it made sense that one would want to go somewhere else. Almost the top 3 running backs that year, 5 stars. Yep. Mauro Fannin, forgot about that name. He panned out, but just not the way most people want to say. All right, kind of switching back again. We'll wrap up our time here in just a little bit, but other recruiting stuff that you have on your mind, Big Cat Weekend, was it a success for you? Was it, how about this? Quick poll of the room. Yes or no, was Big Cat Weekend a success? Whatever that means for you. Was the one committed success, having some players choose to come to our event over others. Is that a success? But what did not enough happen to consider it a success? We can probably sit back a couple weeks from now and say, hey, those were the seeds that were planted at Big Cat Weekend, and then we can say this is a success. But what do you think about it currently? What do you think about it currently? No, I want to be clear. I don't know, but I do have a hope. I would be Auburn in the presidency that will be opening up needs an Auburn person. I know people complain about I don't know what you call it. There's a term that people call it for good old boy thing, but this is not about that. Auburn needs Auburn as the presidency. I would argue they need that too in the AD office. I think it's fine to kind of go a different route with Alan Green. I think it worked out well for the most part. But I think it needs to be someone Auburn with some sort of tie back to them. Big Cat was successful in my mind by just being able to have it this year. Fair point. You win the day. You win the day with that comment. That's very true. Listen, anything that is somewhat back to normal this year is a victory in of itself. I love that perspective. It's so true. One better than but we will get more. I guess you're saying one's better than nothing, but we'll get more. Yeah. So I think it's a success. I think if you had a lot of players that were income that didn't show up, and I'm sure there were plenty that didn't, it would have been a bit of a disappointment, but probably not. I think Derek Mason was his most significant hire. He's a great coach and a great recruiter. Yeah, I think he is. I'm concerned how long we'll have him. But I don't think that takes away from it being a great hire. Again, remember, I'm a very forward-thinking person in terms of the future. I'm really looking at who he picked up that might be here a long time to see coming up. I don't know why, but I'm on the hype train of Cornelius Williams, our wide receivers coach. I really want to see he does. And this is the guy who's a Cody Burns lover. Cody Burns is my guy. I hate that he's not here anymore. But I'm really excited about Cornelius Williams and his connections in the state of Alabama. That's key for recruiting. Historically, benefits of Big Cat came through just down the road, but not typically on Big Cat Weekend. Many good prospects should yield positive results. It's a great way to summarize that, why it's a success probably no matter what. In an even better way, Larry, I think he's got a great point. A lot of people agree. Anytime you get many great athletes exposed to the Auburn family equals success, because that's half the battle, right? Think about how many players are inundated. Think about when you were going to college, if you did, or if you were getting opportunities to go to college. How many of those flyers and those colleges that were sending you, come, apply here or come to our, day to see what our university's like. Think about that for a college athlete too, high profile college athletes. If you can wade through all of that and get them on campus, half the battle is won. Auburn sells itself. The question is, does what Auburn's selling fit with what they want? It doesn't. I'm a firm believer that Auburn itself will do half the battle personally. Successful in the sense of a good running back committed in front of the other players, and they see talent wanting to come to Auburn. I agree with that. Matthew, I'll come back to yours in just one second. I don't think Big Cat Weekend was a great success, but it was okay. That's also a fair assessment too. I think, look, we're being here optimistic. I think it's also fair to say that, hey, I was hoping for a little bit more. It's a little disappointing. There's nothing wrong with that. I think personally, what would have made this a great success was a couple of offensive linemen doing that. And that may be coming. But I think it's fair to say it was okay. All right, let me touch on Matthews real quick. It's a little bit of a different topic, and we'll come back to what everybody else is saying. Question: with Texas and Oklahoma moving in, and that putting Auburn and Alabama in the East Division, do you think we'll both lose our games versus LSU if schedule changes? Yes, we would. But aren't you okay with that? I will speak personally for Auburn fans. I know you're an Alabama fan, Matthew. This is the best possible of both worlds. We keep you guys obviously as our main rival. We get keep our normal rivalry with Georgia, and we get our traditional rivalries back with Tennessee and Florida. We've wanted that for years. For Alabama, since you keep Tennessee as your other rivalry, you keep us. You get to play Florida every year and Georgia every year. I would be disappointed to not see LSU as often as we could, but I think we gain so much more. Personally, for Auburn fans, we do. And you're saying you wouldn't be happy with the LSU thing. Vernon's in the house, guys. He just posted a video about our newest running back commit. Make sure when you're done here, you go check out his thoughts on that. Show him some love and support. Jerry says, I wasn't a fan of the Mike Bobo hire. Will I change my mind by the end of the year? It's a great question. I will say this. That's determined by Bo's trajectory, probably. I would ask that people give him more time than that. I'm less worried about Mike Bobo leaving quickly to be a head coach than Derek Mason. Remember, I'm a forward-thinking guy. I like longevity, so I kind of like that hire more. Now, I admit it was not the hire, but sometimes that type of hire is not the right type of hire. Derek Mason made sense. I don't know that there was a better candidate out there. Mike Bobo might be that sleeper pick for your staff member that we weren't all expecting. Maybe not wanted, but maybe, just maybe, it was exactly what we needed. Kevin says, we've all heard the talk about tight ends being very good and deep. How do people come to this conclusion? Hope they're right. I actually agree with Kevin on this. The mysterious and all-encompassing tight end position that everybody just is fascinated with. Tight ends are great, and they are very much utilized, and I think they'll be utilized more under Coach Harsin because he has a multiple style offense. However, I don't think it's like the end-all be-all that people want to make it out to be. I would like to see results before I start putting more stock in that. That's just me, but I get it. One of those, I feel like there's a connection to old school football with tight ends, and I think that's why it's so important to people. Let's see. I want to stay in the West, Oklahoma in the East. No, none of that here. Get out of that here with that, Imani. Yes, I do think that Alabama and Auburn moving to the East makes it the better division, but I don't think there's going to be ever a way geographically to make it completely even. But think about this way. You've got Oklahoma, Texas, LSU, and Texas A&M as the Power Four. Then you've got Mississippi State, Missouri, and Arkansas as the lesser four. You've got Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Georgia as the Power Four on the East. You've got Vanderbilt, Kentucky, South Carolina, and Tennessee, which has a chance to be more than just that, but which is probably why it makes it a little bit heavier over there. But it's pretty even then, because it's not even now. Preston, do you have any worries about Coach Harsin leaving to coach the NFL with enough success? I've never gotten any notions that he wants to, but I could be wrong. No, just honest. No, I don't. Not really worried about that. I don't know why. Maybe I should be. Now I'm going to panic about it. I'm not really worried about it. Let's get through year one, see what happens, and then we'll find out. Would love to see, Vernon wants to see us play Tennessee and Florida every year. Wouldn't that be awesome? I appreciate the kind words, sir. All right, let's see. Oh, thank you. And also, he says, congrats on 1,000 subs. I appreciate that, man. It's a lot of thanks to a lot of you that shared this channel out there. Is never thought that we would get to 500 in 6 months, but we did it in a whole kit and caboodle in 6 months. So it's very much appreciated by all of you out there. Let's see. I don't like them. I try to get I'm trying to keep up here in chat. Sorry, just bear with me for a second. Texas, I wanted to address this Texas comment, but it keeps moving around. There we go. Texas is a powerful and name only, not on the field. I disagree a little bit with that. I would say right now, Texas and Auburn are probably even based on where the program is at right now. In comparison, I would say that Florida and Texas A&M are somewhat even right now. I would say Georgia and Oklahoma comparable, and Alabama and yeah, I had that right. And Alabama and LSU would be somewhat comparable at this point. I get it. Texas always saying they're back. They're not back, but they will be. They're Texas. It's only a matter of time. Let's see. I would go to the East as long as Alabama's in the East. Just love spoiling their season. That's funny. All right. Look, I'm about ready to wrap up here, but get last minute comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals in right now. Anything's fair game, but would love to hear any final thoughts that you have about Big Cat Weekend, the rest of recruiting, what you're looking forward to. Who do you think that's going to commit? While you're doing that, a couple reminders. If you haven't, please subscribe, hit that notification bell because it does help the channel out, and smash that like button if you enjoyed this content today. There's a bunch of ways that you can help support the content that we do here, all in the description. Let me draw your attention to a couple things that you can do. We do have an option to be a channel supporter specifically here. 99 cents is all it takes. I put the link at the top of the chat window if you're considering that. You get little emojis, icons that go next to your name and stuff like that, and you get priority on all your comments and questions and stuff like that. So if that's something that interests you, that's available. But the main thing where you get the best access to everything is the Booster Club. Kevin is our newest member of the Booster Club. $1 a month is all it takes there. Pretty cool content that you get there, access to perks. So I hope that you will at least go check it out. I'll give you a hint. You don't necessarily get charged until the first of the month. So if you want to come in and peek at it and just see what it's all about, now's the time to do it. You can always cancel. But anyway, so there is there's some options for you to help, and there's also TeePublic, PayPal, all that good stuff. All right, let's see here. Let me back up, see what everybody's saying. Texas Auburn compatible. I think it's right now, Vernon. I think it's very comparable right now. That'll change quickly though, hopefully under Coach Harsin. Oh, appreciate that. I hope that everybody, when I share my views here, understand that there's just my views. It doesn't have to be yours. We can disagree too. I think a lot of people these days, and I think most of the people that come here understand that I like to offer differing takes, especially I like to play devil's advocate. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. Can you get that shirt you got on in a hoodie? I don't think so. This is exclusively from the Well, I think you could buy them online eventually, but this came straight from the locker room of the championship game. I told this earlier. This came from a person who was very well connected with the program at the time. That's my souvenir. I only wear it for one show or something, like every once in a while in blue. But yeah, that's where I got it from. Thank you. Some of you are asking that. Also reminds me of Trey Mason. That's a good comparison. We were talking earlier, Jack, about how more of it's a Javon Robinson comparison, but Trey's not a bad option either. But yes, I'm glad you guys are enjoying the show here. But I think personally, that's going to be it. Let me give you a couple of things to keep your head on a swivel about here. Tomorrow night, the plan is to go live again. Can you believe it? We're going to have a guest on. Actually, I'll just go and tell you who it is. Clint Richardson, most of you know him of the Auburn Uniform Database, has an article he'll be talking about tomorrow with Auburn and Under Armour and how that relationship might be changing and who a new relationship might, could, should form with. He won't talk about everything in the article, but he wants to talk a little bit about it with you all. So he'll be here on the channel talking with us, and we'd love to hear some of your comments and questions. 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Hope you'll come back. And we'll also have a new podcast out tomorrow for football, breaking down SEC Media Days everything else that's happened since then for our No Huddle guys. We'll have a Inside the Jungle later this week with the NBA draft. A new Auburn Roots is coming out on Friday. And this Wednesday, we did a special with me and Clint about Spirit, the eagle retiring as one of our eagles that flies before the game. So I hope you're enjoying. I hope you are ready for some content because it's coming out this week. But anyway, all right, everybody, thank you so much. And really appreciate everybody being here tonight, hanging out with us. Smash that like button on the way out. Till I talk to you all again, my friends. War Eagle.